Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into this really charming observational essay by a creator named TKN, simply titled Sento, Radio, and a Husband. You know, on the surface, it just looks like a quirky little story about a living room chat between a married couple. But honestly, it's actually this fascinating deep dive into analog warmth in our super digital age. It's all about capturing those tiny, fleeting, everyday moments and, well, turning them into a pretty profound commentary on what we actually value. Let's get right into it.
So the author drops us right into the scene. Picture this. It's a kind of damp Thursday night. The wife just finished cleaning up after dinner. She's about to finally sit down with a nice cup of tea, and out of nowhere, her husband just sinks deep into the sofa and lets out this incredibly heavy, dramatic sigh. He goes, "Ah, it's over." Sigh. So sad. His voice is just so deadpan serious that his wife, and honestly us reading it, immediately think, oh no, what happened? Was there some huge tragic announcement? Section 1. The Night of Finale Loss. Drama Endings. So the wife obviously asks what on earth just happened, and he looks at her like it's literally the most obvious thing in the world. A TV drama he was watching just ended. And the funniest part, when he names the show, he doesn't just call it Radio Star. No, he strictly corrects her that the star in the title has to go right in the very middle. Radio Star. The wife just kind of patiently sits down with her tea, thinking to herself, right, okay, good work, title police. It's just such a perfect, endearing little detail. It perfectly sets up the husband's exasperating but undeniably charming quirks. Then he starts explaining the whole premise of the show that kicked off this entire conversation. The drama follows a protagonist named Kanade, and she runs a radio station built inside a sento, which is a traditional Japanese public bathhouse that just so happens to have an ocean view. Sounds cozy, right? But right in the middle of explaining this plot, the husband just throws out this totally random deduction. He notes that Kanade has a great voice and cute movements, and then goes, I wonder if that's because her father likes rhinoceros beetles. I mean, talk about a leap. His mind literally never travels in a straight line, and you can tell his wife is watching him with this funny mix of total amusement and slightly tired resignation.
Moving on to Section 2, a deep love for radio. Analog passions. Okay, so we know his mind jumps around, right? They're supposed to be talking about a TV drama, but suddenly, bam, he's deep into the history of NHK Radio 2. Then, out of nowhere, he pivots to the rock band Queen and their song Radio Gaga. And from there, it's a straight leap to the origin of Lady Gaga's name. But here is the absolute kicker. After every single one of these major factual points, he tacks on the phrase, I don't know though. The wife playfully points out that, hey, if you don't actually know, maybe don't say it with your chest puffed out so proudly. But honestly, you can just picture it. His eyes are absolutely sparkling with joy the whole time. But what really hits home here is his genuine, deep affection for the medium itself. He starts boldly declaring his love for radio like he's some kind of touring rock star. But his reasons? They're actually incredibly beautiful. He says he loves the intimate distance that you can only really reach with a human voice. He loves how, without even having to stare at a screen, you just feel this comforting presence of other people in the room with you. It's not just nostalgia. It's this deeply sensory appreciation for a totally old-school medium. Which brings us to Section 3, Mysterious Sento Margin. Blank space. So, because the drama featured a radio station inside a sento, the husband gets immediately inspired and says they should travel to go find it. This completely highlights the contrast between how these two operate. Look at their mindsets here. If the wife is traveling, she's all about practicality, right? Checking return train schedules, figuring out dinner prep. But the husband, he completely operates with this whimsical thing he calls a mystery blank space. It's basically a designated buffer of time that he specifically reserves for taking a spontaneous bath wherever he happens to end up.
And honestly, this is where we run into such a hilarious irony. To make sure he's always ready for this mystery blank space, he literally always carries a towel hidden away in his bag every time he leaves the house. But when it comes time to actually find these rustic, traditional, super analog bathhouses in some unknown town, what does he do? He whips out his smartphone and searches Google Maps. He's literally using cutting-edge modern navigation tech to hunt down the exact places he uses to escape the modern world. You kind of have to love the contradiction there.
His passion for sentos is intense, but also, delightfully flawed. There's this one time he found out public baths were decreasing across Japan, and he dramatically declared Japanese culture might disappear. So what does he do? He goes out and buys an official sento certification study book. And the punchline? He literally never took the exam. Never. The wife actually points out that this is a classic scenario in their house. You know the feeling, right? Buying a book and feeling 100% satisfied just by possessing the passion for it without actually doing the work. It's just such an incredibly relatable, endearing human trait.
Let's head into section 4, nostalgia and AI, modern themes.
As they keep talking, the scope of his rambling just gets bigger and bigger. He goes from chatting about a TV show ending to pondering the future of humanity. He hits his wife with this incredibly grandiose declaration. He says, "Nostalgia is impossible for AI." And then he just starts deeply questioning whether artificial intelligence will ever actually be capable of enriching the human heart the way these old, fading cultural staples do. The essay delivers this with a lot of affectionate irony, but honestly, the philosophical question underneath it all is spot on.
So, we really have to ask ourselves at this point, was he actually just sad about the drama ending? I mean, we started this whole explainer with a guy sighing into a sofa over a TV show, but as we peel back the layers of all these crazy tangents, from radio to the cento to literally AI, the tone really pivots. It goes from this comedic observation of a husband's quirky habits to something much deeper. We start to feel this really poignant empathy from the wife's perspective.
Section 5. Things to keep. Fading analog warmth. Ultimately, you realize his mourning is really for the fading analog warmth of traditional culture. He wasn't just grieving a fictional radio station on TV. He's actually holding tightly onto the things he's terrified the modern world is just leaving behind. The raw intimacy of a human voice crackling on the radio, the totally enveloping warm steam of a local bathhouse, the simple joy of stumbling upon small, quiet places in towns you don't know. These are the rich textures of a life that an AI, no matter how advanced, simply cannot replicate.
Bringing it all back to the living room, the wife looks at her husband and has this wonderful realization. Like, yeah, okay, his nostalgic clinging is definitely a bit exaggerated. And sure, his sprawling, random conversations and unfulfilled passions, like that study book, are a little troublesome to keep up with. But at the end of the day, it's also slightly enviable. To love the world and its tiny little details that much, that's a gift. So she lovingly decides that, you know what, for tonight, she's just going to quietly indulge his nostalgia. The author wraps up the essay with this absolutely beautiful, lingering image. She looks over at this quirky man she married with his constantly wandering mind and his deeply analog heart, and she just hopes. She hopes that the towel he keeps hidden in his bag will always, somehow, lead him to another gentle, welcoming place. I mean, wow. It's just a perfect summarization of quiet, everyday love and total acceptance of someone's quirks. As we wrap up today's explainer, this really makes you stop and think about your own daily rhythms, doesn't it? As technology just keeps accelerating faster and faster, we all really need those grounding human moments. So I want to leave you with this question to chew on. What disappearing analog experiences or mystery blank spaces are you holding on to in an AI-driven world? Seriously, think about it. Find your own version of a hidden towel and hold on to it tightly. Thanks so much for learning with me today.